Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Sophia Ellis. I'm a strength and powerlifting coach based in London, and I'm also a competitive powerlifter. So today we're going to be going through the Sumo Deadlift. There's a few things to consider when doing sumo. Do you have the right amount of hip mobility to perform the movement? And also that it is a lot more technical than conventional deadlift, so it's really important to just nail the technique and the form before going on to heavier weights. So we're basically just go through the fundamentals of the sumo deadlift. If you need any kind of like warm-up drills or hip mobility stuff, then you can head over to my Instagram page, and I've got a load of really useful videos over on there. Okay, so a few more things just to bear in mind with the sumo deadlift. It will be slower from the floor, so you've got to really make sure that you hold your positioning from the floor and don't let it go. As soon as you let your hips rise before the bar moves the floor, then it's just going to go into your back. Sumo is more quad dominant than conventional, so it should be less lower back as long as you're holding your positioning and doing it all technically correct. Okay, so to find your starting position, you want it so that your shins are going to be vertical at the front. So that's our kind of starting point. From there, you can either go wider or narrower, depending on your leverages, depending on what feels comfortable for you. Just make sure that the knees don't cave in, because a lot of the time I see that people go super wide and then they end up the knees collapsing inwards as they're pressing through the floor. So once you find where your shins are vertical, so for me that's around here, you can see my shins are vertical at the front. We're just pointing our feet forwards, and then we're going to take our feet out. Now if you find that when you come down the shins aren't vertical, just adjust it a little bit, feet forward again, and then turn the toes out. So now once you've found your foot positioning, we want to think about the weight distribution through the feet. So you want to put more weight onto the outside of the foot, but making sure that the big toe is still in contact with the floor. Almost see it as like a tripod, so your big toe, your little toe, and the heel of your foot all pressing into the floor, and then the weight is slightly going to go a little bit more onto the outside of the foot. This is so that when we're pressing, the knees can keep tracking by where the toes are pointing. Once you've done that, I now want you to make your arms long. So you can either take your mixed grip or your overhand positioning, whatever you generally do or feel more comfortable doing. So I just want you to stand and just make your arms as long as possible and make yourself tall. I really like to see the arms as a rope with hooks on, because all they're really doing is just holding the bar, and your legs are going to be doing the work. From this position, I want you to really slowly come down towards the bar, keep lengthening, and just reach. And when you can just reach the bar, that's your position there. So as you can see, I've got the bar in my fingers. We want the bar in the fingers, because that decreases more range for movement, but also means that your wrists are stacked over the bar. If you wrap your hands around the bar, you'll find that your wrist positioning can change, and the bar can also roll in your hand as well. Obviously, this changes person to person depending on finger length. I've got salad fingers, so it sits quite nicely right at the end in my fingertips, but as I say, this changes person to person. So we're here. We've found our positioning, and I want you to look forwards. The reason why I say this is because as soon as you look down, you're going to want to come over the bar and use your back. So looking forwards, in terms of where your shoulders are, the shoulders are ever so slightly over the bar. And you can see that I'm not squatting into it. I'm ever so slightly forwards. Just slightly, not here, just ever so slightly over the bar. We don't want to be squatting into it, because as soon as you squat, you're going to pull up and it's going to jolt it, and you're going to completely lose your positioning. So once you've got that starting position and you're making your arms long, Setting the shoulders, keeping everything nice and tight. We want to create tension with the bar. So we really want to pull the slack out of the bar. What this does is it prevents you kind of jolting when you're going to lift. So I almost think of it as like, you know, when people do tug of war, they don't just grab the rope and just pull it and just yank it. They grab the rope, they pull the slack, they create tension with the rope, and then they go. It's the same thing with the bar. We want to create as much tension as we can from the floor. Then when we're ready, we just drive straight away, but obviously being patient with it. So we're thinking, I'm almost like pulling the bar but not moving anywhere. So I'm really creating that tension with the bar, pushing with my legs, and then when I'm ready to go, I'm going to drive through the floor. There. And I'm just standing up at the top, and then I'm just going to reverse the movement and guide it down. Take your time with the setup. It's so important because the sumo deadlift is so slow from the floor. It's really important to get that correct positioning so that as soon as it starts moving, you're in the right position to just lock it out. So back to it. We're in the position, we're reaching down. Think of bringing your lats down. Some people like to think of squeezing an orange in between their armpits. Think of setting the lats down, shoulders slightly down. There. Now we're looking forwards, getting the chest through a little bit, making yourself tall, so almost as someone's pulling a string from your head. And now what we're going to think of doing when we're driving is we're going to think of driving through the floor. Think of the deadlift as a push movement instead of a pull. So we're really driving, pushing the floor away from us, driving the knees outwards. So we're thinking knees out, trying to track over the toes, and driving down through the floor. So we're pushing away from us. And the hands should just be staying long. We don't want to be moving our shoulders or elbows or anything at all during the deadlift. We're here. Set your brace. So we're thinking setting the ribcage down, breathing in, and then drive through the floor. Make sure you are patient. So take your time from the floor. It might feel like it's not moving, but you've got to stick with it and keep driving through your legs. So with the lockout, we're thinking locking the knees first and then slightly pulling back. This is different from conventional. With conventional, you just literally lock out your knees and your hips at the same time. With sumo, we're locking the knees first and then the hips come through. I don't want you to lock the knees and then overextend though. We're just locking out here. Just think of standing up with the bar. That's basically what you're doing. I like to think of squeezing my quads at the top of the movement for the lockout, instead of thinking squeezing and thrusting my hips through, just because that stops me from that overextending at the lockout. So just think of squeezing the quads, and doing that also makes sure that your knees are locked, because we don't want any soft knees at the top of the movement, as it won't be called as a lift at competition. So yeah, so we're thinking getting our brace. The brace position is the exact same as the squat. Driving through the floor, holding your position from the floor, and then as the bar starts to move, we're thinking locking the knees and just slightly pulling back, squeezing the quads, locking it all out, just standing up. So, setting up, make the arms long, look forwards. So on the way down on the movement, we're just literally thinking of reversing it and just guiding the bar down. So we're not hinging, letting the bar come down by using our back. We're literally just reversing the movement and guiding the bar down. I quite like to keep tension with the bar when I'm doing rep work particularly, It just helps me to hold my positioning better in the sumo. But then I know a lot of people just like to reset between reps. The only issue with that is being that it just takes so much time resetting in between each rep. So particularly with sumo, just try to keep tension with the bar. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that you found this helpful. If there's anything else you'd like me to go through, please let me know. But yeah, you can find me over on Instagram at Sophia Strength, and I hope to do another one of these soon.